Back in 1998, back in my product development days, a problem occurred on a product I had developed. It turns out there was a small washer that was critical to securing the handle on the lid in place. But the manufacturers substituted the standard washer last minute, and this was a factory overseas. Whether to save time or money or for some other reason, I'll never know. But the end result was that when the pan was used in the oven, the washer would soften and, if hot enough, disintegrate, leaving the handle loose and possibly in risk of coming off. We had to pivot fast to make the correction. And to this day, more than 22 years later, I remember that panic and close my eyes and see the design, see the handles. And it wasn't a question I thought to ask about a washer and a handle, but luckily we were following the CMA Engineering Standards, so we caught it in time. And this is just one example of how the standards have helped so many companies. So we're doing a series to the history and importance of the engineering standards. Just a quick little overview of the standards and some history on it. Since 1922, the Cookware Manufacturers Association has promoted excellence in cookware manufacturing and service to consumers. Those member manufacturers of the association have committed themselves to principles of consumer protection, manufacturing excellence, and the health and safety of the industry's workers and appropriate stewardship of environmental resources. For many years, the CMA has propagated and published voluntary standards for cookware and bakeware. Designed for use by engineers, cookware and bakeware designers, and production personnel, these standards are presented in a comprehensive 107-page manual covering all aspects of materials, material testing, minimum gauges, standard sizes and capacities, and so much more. On this webinar, we will explore the importance of the standards, who they are created for and why, and the most intriguing question of all, how the association members who are known competitors come together for this incredible cause. Welcome. My name is Fran Groesbeck, and you are listening to the Consumer Manufacturers Association podcast. One of the CMA's goals is to keep our members informed. So today we are excited to have Henry Lodge of Lodge Cast Iron to talk with us about the CMA's engineering standards. Today, learn the importance of this incredible tool and its value in the market. You can find more information about Lodge Cast Iron on their website, lodgecastiron.com, and you can learn more about the CMA from our website, cookware.org. Hi, Henry. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Fran. It's a delight to be speaking with you today.
Same here. Where are you calling in from?
I'm at home on the Cumberland Plateau overlooking the beautiful Tennessee River Valley. I can see Lodge Cast Iron from my deck. So I'm in just a little piece of God's country.
Oh, that's beautiful. So we're pretty lucky here today. We have sun, but we're anticipating a nor'easter tomorrow, so it should be a fun 24 hours.
Oh, we will be thinking about you.
It'll be our first snow of the season. Well, Henry, it's a real honor for me to speak to you. I can still remember the first time I met you and thinking, wow, I got to talk to Henry Lodge. And you're such a wonderful friend, and I'm just so excited to do this today. But before I start talking about the engineering standards, and I really appreciate you helping me out with this series, could you tell us a little bit about your start at Lodge? Was it always your plan to join the family business?
Well, Fran, it's interesting that you asked that question because it was never my plan to join the family business. My grandparents, my experience with South Pittsburgh in my youth was visiting my grandparents here 2 or 3 times a year. I knew that the company made cast iron cookware, had done it for years. But I ended up, but I did not live close by, and I ended up at the University of South in Suwanee, which is just about 25 miles away from South Pittsburgh. And so I ended up spending a summer, maybe a couple of summers, I can't remember now. But I know I spent the summer after I graduated living with my grandmother and working in the what was then the shipping and packing department. We were a little bit smaller company then. And so I worked that summer. I had no idea what my future held or what I really wanted to do, to be honest with you. And so took some time off and was at home one morning, home being staying with my parents at that point, who had moved to Chattanooga. And I got a call from one of the 3 members of the team that was running Lodge, 3 first cousins once removed. They were 3rd generation. So I got a call from the guy who was pretty much handling the operations, and he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm not really doing anything. I've got some plans I think I'd like to teach, and I'm going to see if I can get a teaching job. Little late in the year to try to get a teaching job. He said, well, we just fired our shipping clerk. You know how to do it. Get your, ASS down here. I said, okay, I'll come help you out, but I'm not staying. He said, fine. So I went, and that was 47 years ago, 48 now that I've been retired almost a year.
It's never what we intend, right? But if that summer didn't happen, we might not have lodged the way we have it now.
Well, I do believe, as a friend of mine says, that's a God thing, because I think it's been a blessing to me, and I hope I've provided some help to all the employees at Lodge Manufacturing.
Serendipity, right? The happy accidents of our life.
That's right.
And actually, so it's funny that we're talking today. Well, not funny, but this is how we met. We met through the CMA, and one of the most amazing parts of the CMA, and we're gonna jump right into that one point about competitors. People, until you experience it, cannot believe how incredible the energy is when you're together with the CMA group. And it doesn't matter that it's competitors. It's like this family environment. So now, talking about the engineering standards, some people wonder, if the members are all competitors, how do we all come together as the association to create this tool?
Well, it's kind of amazing. Our first foray into the world of the CMA and competitors meetings, so to speak, was back in the late 70s, early 80s. I don't remember exactly when, but I realized pretty quickly that all those people that were meeting, that were leading these companies, a lot of them family companies, were just good people. They were people. And so it was very easy to develop relationships. Obviously, we have a very strict code at CMA about not discussing any competitive issues. So the CMA is all about promoting cookware in general without taking sides on what kind. Not that cast iron's the best necessarily, it's just always the best. But so there was a real camaraderie that developed, and quickly realized that standards were important. And in those days, almost all the manufacturers were American manufacturers. And so in general, those manufacturers held themselves to the highest standards. But when competition started coming in from overseas, there were some real issues about what kind of standards those manufacturers were following. And so the engineering standards for CMA took on a whole new meaning, a whole new importance, because we realized a huge need to make sure that the buyers of cookware, no matter who they bought it from, that the buyers were knowledgeable, because we didn't want them to make bad decisions by substandard cookware, which would leave a negative image in the mind of customers who might have bought defective cookware or lower quality cookware. So it's almost self-preservation, in the sense that we want to make sure that the buyers understand what they are buying and not make mistakes. And we think our standards are reasonable. All the manufacturers in the association have agreed to them. So it's pretty much of a consensus. The real importance was to help the buyers at those companies.
It's such a powerful tool, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to do this series. That story at the beginning is just one of many in my product development and retail days where the standards help me out, because it's always the question you don't ask. Now, I wouldn't have thought to ask the question about that handle and the washer. Now, after that, I did for every product. But what I really want to drive through is, in the beginning, I mentioned about consumer protection. The potential that our products can have harm if not constructed properly is big. And following the standards ensures consumer protection and safety. So, and that's becoming a hot topic, an even hotter topic in today's world. Consumers really want to know that their product is safe. So I really believe our engineering standards are more important than ever. Well, thank you.
And Fran, I think that they are more important than ever. And the fact that we can have been very successful at self-regulating gives those manufacturers more flexibility to do the right things than trying to meet a government standard written by people who may or may not have any knowledge of how cast iron is made, how handles are attached, how nonstick coating is applied. There's just such a depth of knowledge within the CMA about best practices.
There really is.
Our standards really are well written. They're good. They're constantly under review.
So we have 3 under review right now.
Yes, exactly.
We're always looking for ways to make it better. I say we, but I'm just helping right now. But I feel such a part of it, and that's another. It's so incredible to be on one of those calls and hear the members come together and really. It's this incredible synergy of just how do we get to the right, safe answer? How do we make this understandable for the retailers? How do we make it right for consumers? And how do we make it, and you're right, to have a government agency try to regulate this, they don't have the depth of knowledge our members do. But we're going to jump into that actually next. So I just want to take a little break here to remind everyone that you're listening to the Cookware Manufacturers Association podcast with Henry Lodge, who is sharing insight on the CMA Engineering Standards. And you can explore Lodge Cast Iron on their website, lodgecastiron.com. You can learn more about the CMA from our website, cookware.org. But let's get back to the conversation. That's more fun. So you just touched on the fact that it's, an industry that our members are coming together to do this and not handled by a government agency. So since we don't have an enforcing agency that goes out and checks everybody does it, it's a voluntary self-regulated process. Do you think that is beneficial? And if so, why?
Well, I do think it's beneficial. I think that by publishing our standards, providing our standards to buyers, and we all know that buyers change roles sometimes rather frequently. And so to make the move from buying, let's say, baby foods to buying cookware, there's a lot to be learned there. It's a whole different, every move for a buyer may be to a whole different area, a whole different product line mix. And so they need a way to get up to speed pretty quickly. And the fact that we bring all the substrates, all the kinds of cookware into our engineering standards allows us to provide them with a great deal of information pretty succinctly provided. Got to be a great benefit for them. And I know we share those standards pretty openly with all buyers, but it also allows us, and now that we've opened the membership to all branded cookware and national branded cookware, it allows us to be a member of CMA. You have to agree to adhere to the standards. So if a member company is producing sub-quality cookware and is a member of CMA, that's going to be a pretty serious discussion, and they're probably not going to remain members very long. So just the fact that you're buying cookware from a CMA member producer kind of should give everyone, the buyer and the retailer, the buyer and the consumer, some degree of confidence that cookware meets those standards.
That's a really good point. And I really like what you talked about. I relate to that from my retail days. We did get moved around. You'd get moved from soft goods to hard goods. You could get moved from, ready to wear to home, and you're asked to jump into a category that you don't know anything about. And the CMA, not just the standards, but the CMA itself provides so many resources to retailers when they have to move from product category to product category.
So Fran, in your experience, how much training did they give you? Or did they say, oh, here's your new categories, good luck?
Yep, the latter. And luckily, though, I had great partners and resources and met some wonderful people like John Badner. So there were people who, I just refused to just create product, especially learning early on the impact that cookware could have on a consumer and the safety issues and all those different safety and protection things we had to think about. So I went out and sought my own information, and that's how I connected with the CMA back early on. I'm not sure that there are as many associations like this for other hard goods categories where buyers and retailers could turn to, but we're lucky we do have this, and we're going to explore connecting with retailers more in the coming years and make sure they know what we have to offer. This has been a great conversation, Henry. I really appreciate it. I wanted to throw in one other fact for our listeners. According to the Office of the United States Trade Representative, the USTR, industry-driven leadership in manufacturing like ours is critical because no government has the resources to match the breadth and depth of expertise and agility of the private sector. And I quote that because it supports what we've been talking about. The members coming together to create these engineering standards, keep them updated, is one of the most valuable tools our industry has. Henry, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been really wonderful talking with you.
Well, Fran, I have really enjoyed it, and I'll just say I've been real impressed with the work of CMA over the years and the camaraderie where people who are fierce competitors in their business can work together for the betterment of the entire category, the entire industry.
It is one of the most wonderful things to witness. And if you're not a member and you're listening, you should definitely look into becoming one. Well, in closing, you are listening to the Cookware Manufacturers Association podcast. Thank you to Henry Lodge for your insight and information on the CMA Engineering Standards. My name is Fran Groesbeck. We are recording for the Cookware Manufacturers Association. You can find my contact information and more at our website, cookware.org. The association is a proven valuable resource to our members, maintaining the updated engineering standards for the production of cookware and bakeware, providing timely statistical reporting, resources for retailers, including cookware training guides, and members network with the best in our industry. And of course, real-time links to podcasts like this one. You'll find this podcast and others in the members section of cookware.org, as well as on iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, Google Play, and many more. That makes it a wrap for this episode. Stay safe, be well, and happy cooking, everyone.